Welcome to our fourth edition of Mental Fitness, where my wonderful favorite Republican, Christopher Machen, and I dissect the news. What is he seeing through the Republican lens? What am I seeing through the Democrat lens? Spoiler alert, they're trying to divide us and make us hate each other and make us think we're monsters. But actually, the majority of the American population want the same things. So, Christopher, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Sarah. I'm super excited to be back.
I look forward to this show so much. It's one of my favorite shows to film. I really like spending time with you. Um, and I just thank you for doing this with me because it's a brave thing for both of us. We dig deep into stuff. We're going to talk about the government shutdown and how different sides, what we're seeing. And in reality, it's hurting the majority of us. It's hurting the military. SNAP benefits are about ready to end in 2 days. This is terrifying. So we're going to get into that. But first, we have some giant news that you may have seen if you were a close follower to Project Next. And I kind of want to talk about it with my Republican friend and get your feedback on it because it is a sensitive subject. But one of my main goals of Project Next is to not hide stuff, to be very upfront and honest. And so if you haven't noticed, I think it was yesterday it was announced, or maybe 2 days ago, Tim and I have decided to take the Who's Left This Week show off of Project Next. It will now be on just the Who's Left network, which is Scott Aaron Rodgers' network. So if you liked that show, it's a great show. If you liked that show, make sure you're following Who's Left, HOOSLEFT. It will not be on Project Next. I'm told Scott he can still use StreamYards if he wants. We're still friends. It was a very beautiful conversation between me and Scott and Tim that we had on Monday night. And I just want to explain why we did that and get your thoughts on it, Christopher. We're new to this stuff, to starting Project Next. It's pretty new. And, our mission is to stop the fear, hate, and division that is destroying our country and to unite the majority of us, come together and help our communities, help the people. And, my hope for Scott's show is that he'd be able to have Republicans on, that it would be a bunch of different types of voices uncovering the news. And you did that show, what, twice?
Yeah, I did that twice.
And that was really nice of you. But it was just getting too hard and the voices were all really far to the left. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I disagree with a lot of what they're saying. A lot of what they're saying, I'm pretty progressive. I agree with a lot of it, but the way it was done wasn't lining up with our mission of stopping the fear, hate, and division. And so we were trying to figure out how to balance it. Tim and I have been working on this for months. We've been feeling it for months. One of the things was to have you on the show, and we just it's gotten so much more divisive since we started Project Next that it got to a point where Tim and I are like, we have to do this differently.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a solution. I'll tell that in a minute, but I want to get your thoughts as the person that's been on that show twice, as the Republican. What do you feel about this decision? We still love Scott very much. He's a friend of mine. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, first thing I'll say is I have to give a lot of credit to Scott for the way that he shoots his show. And the logistics, everything, it's well run.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He has a good format. He prepares well for it. So I give him tons of credit for that. But in understanding what the point of Project Next is, of being able to bring in people from both sides of the aisle to talk about our differences, to resolve our differences. I didn't see that a lot in Scott's show. And the couple times that I did go on, I was the sole Republican, in a panel of 4 people. And I stood my own definitely in there. And I loved the back and forth. But at the same time, it was a 4 versus 1. And everything I said was completely contested. Most of the things we did agree on, some things, which was good, and which was kind of the point of what I wanted to bring on it, that we do see to eye on some things. But again, it was just me compared with all of those people. And he also never really had more Republicans on other than me after that too. So even if it was one person on the panel, like there was no continuity with it. So it was always just going back to this echo chamber, to these people that believe all of these same things, and they're all in constant agreement with each other. And then I would be added in for a little bit of the opposing viewpoint. But no, I thought that it could have been a good idea if he embraced more people. But he also said the one thing about this one rule is no MAGA. And while I can understand that, and that MAGA is super scary for a lot of people on the left, at the end of the day, people who identify as MAGA are your neighbors. I'm sure they're the people who live on Scott Street, who he says hi to, as he's leaving his house. So they're real people.
Yeah, I
they're
didn't like that intro because I'm like, well, I'm not scared of MAGA people. I'll talk
exactly
to them.
and when people like that say no MAGA, it makes people who are MAGA get even more pissed off at the
It
left.
pushes them even more to
It
the
pushes them
right.
even more to the right, because they say, okay, the people just don't like me because I support a candidate, so therefore I'm going to hate them even more for going against me. And that's not what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about coming together, no matter your political differences, and they can be extreme or not, but the ability to just engage and talk with people who that you disagree with. And I think that's what that show lost, and what Project Next is trying to emphasize. So I do think it was a good idea, and I'm hoping that we can get some type of debate style where we can have an even number of Republicans and Democrats.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So we're not gonna like replace that time slot show. If you want to watch Scott's show, we're not trying to compete against it, but we are gonna replace it with a different style show that for now will mostly be Tim Peck, your uncle, co-founder of Project Next. He is going to do a debate style show where any person that comes out and says something and it's different from what Project Next thinks is the right thing, which is unity and forgiveness and working together, community. He's going to invite them on his show and say, debate me.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. And this is a really good time for that show because the Democratic primary in Indiana is very heated right now, Christopher. I don't know whether you see it.
I see. So I'm in sometimes, so I get little snippets of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The Blythe Potter Bo Bye. It's not a primary. Delegates will vote in the summer.
For secretary.
That's really contested. And then Tim is in a hotly contested primary for Congress in District 9. And I am uncomfortable with the level of bullying happening on my side, the Democratic left side of the people in this primary. There are memes being sent bullying the candidates. And I am uncomfortable when I talk to these people that think it's totally fine to bully someone because they're the candidate. They're allowed to be bullied. I'm like, we are all human beings. And I can tell you, as someone that runs as a candidate, it affects our mental health.
Yep.
I don't care how rich you think they are, how good looking you think they are. They are human beings, and that's bullying, and that's wrong. And so that's where I'm getting super uncomfortable with my side, is the bullying happening. Tim is getting bullied right now. Bo Bye, I bet Blythe is. I bet it's both. I bet it's all the people are being bullied, and I'm uncomfortable with it. And I'm not going to shine a light on that on my platform. I want to call it out and say bullying is wrong.
Exactly.
What do you think?
I completely agree with that. And I also think one of the things that a lot of people in Indiana 9 need to like understand is like the political makeup of where they live. Like there are a lot of Democrats, but a lot of those people in Indiana, especially Southern Indiana, did vote for Trump and still like Trump. I mean, Tim lost by 30 points his last election, and he was probably the most centrist and moderate candidate that the Democrats have had down there in over 20 years, right? So he tried to bring in his democratic values to embrace a moderate message that Republicans and Democrats could both come together on. And that's a long process, being able to change people's minds from their party to actually about what they believe. It takes a long time, and it wasn't going to happen in just 2 years. But at the same time, those little strides, those little compromises with Republicans, those conversations that he intentionally has with people on the other side create this greater movement that Project Next is trying to emphasize. And I see it a lot in these heavy red areas of like the constant like going even further to the left in the backlash because they hate seeing what's happening. And you don't realize that as you go further to the left, those people who did vote for Trump and still probably like Trump aren't going to go into your camp at all. So your pool is going to get even smaller and smaller and smaller, even though you think that this is the exact way that things need to happen. And that's just not how things work in our political system. Based on geography, based on everything. We do live in a pluralistic society where we are supposed to have different viewpoints that counter each other and that we compromise with. But at the same time, we have to understand the states that we live in. It's the same thing with me in New York. I know that New York is going to go blue. If I wanted to run in New York, which I would like to on Long Island, I would run as a moderate Republican, right? I have to be able to bring in those independent and swing voters. And it's even more so in deep red Indiana.
I'm just saying right now, I hope you do run as a moderate Republican. Wow, do we need more people like you on the Republican side? And we need more people like Tim Peck on the Democrat side, calling for unity and caring about all people. And it's wild to me seeing the bullying on my side. And they say to me, how dare you compare us to the MAGA people? And I'm like, you are the MAGA people on our side.
Exactly. They don't realize it. There's just not a name for it.
You are the left MAGA people. You are the bullies. You bully anybody on our side that doesn't see things exactly like them, just like the MAGA people do to the Republicans. If they don't follow exactly right, they bully them. And we should not be putting these people in charge. Now, it's not all our fault. I need to make this clear. We didn't necessarily do the division. Trump won. And I place more blame on the Republicans, in my opinion. You might have a different opinion, but it's probably both sides. But at the same hand, the people at the top are constantly saying very divisive content. And I didn't feel quite the same from the main people at the top on the Democrat side. I know that Democrats are bad too, and they're full, but the president is saying very divisive stuff. You can't deny that.
Yeah, no, I that's not.
That has caused our side to revenge their side, which just makes the division keep going. And I'm not trying to say we're just as bad. Like, people get real defensive when I'm like, the far to the left need to stop bullying. I understand there's far to the right bullying, and I understand that they're causing some of ours, but we also got to stop ours. Yeah. If we don't stop ours, why would they stop theirs? It's just going to keep going. It's like a war. It's like revenge. I'm hurt. I hurt you.
Exactly.
Oh, you hurt me. Now I'm going to hurt you more. Now it's just this over and over and over. It's like, when are we going to stop it?
I think, and that's the biggest thing in politics is like that you see all the time is like when like you hear like the shutdown's a perfect example. It's like, oh, well, like the Democrats did the same exact thing. It's like, so that makes it okay. Or like people say the Republicans did this before.
Yeah, that's such a stupid. Oh, the other side's bad too. Guess what?
But you were screaming about it when the other side was doing it, and now that you're doing it, you're justifying what your actions because the other side did it. So where are we then? What are your true values?
We should call out when anyone is bad, regardless of whether they have a R or D by their name.
Exactly. And I think the division, I think about this a lot, is like, I think you go back to 2015. I mean, it's crazy that we've lived in a decade of Donald Trump.
10 years of this. Wow.
It's insane. It does not feel like it. But
with the pandemic in the middle.
Exactly. With the pandemic in the middle. But you go back to 2016. And Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump came on the rise, was the most unorthodox candidate, probably in history. And people didn't know how to go against him because he wasn't this perfectly polished person. Like, he was, he said crazy things and divisive things that weren't always true, but it riled people up and people.
And it was right at the time where the internet was loving that division.
Exactly.
And we didn't really understand it. We understand it now. We didn't understand how that was working, how Trump came in at the perfect time for that divisive content to blow up.
Exactly. And he was the perfect, agent of that chaos and that divisiveness because he fed off of, the fact that he wasn't the typical candidate. He brought out the group of middle class people that were neglected by Democrats and Republicans for the whole 21st century. So he made people feel seen a lot of the times, and that's what really got his buildup, because all of these other politicians promised them the world and didn't deliver anything. And this is this businessman who he says was so successful. They saw him on TV all the time. They thought this guy could do it. And what we developed was just on the Democrat side was just complete anti-Trump rhetoric, is that anything that Donald Trump does, Democrats have
We're
to
against.
against.
Sometimes he would come up with decent ideas. I don't know whether he ever enacted them, but
exactly. But
and
some
like
of
some of the stuff he did with COVID was really good. And I want to
exactly.
thank Mike Pence for that.
He was, but Trump was
Pence
the
helped.
proponent of Operation Warp Speed. The
Yeah,
reason that we
it's
got
so
the
weird because he
vaccine
doesn't
was
feel
because
that
of Trump.
now. He's changed positions, but he did some really good things during the pandemic that saved lives.
Exactly. And at the same time, so like you just said, like even the moderate positions that you should agree with, Democrats said just because Donald Trump's doing it, we have to go the exact opposite. And then they went further to the left as a result of that, right? And now as we came up, and then we had Biden, and then all of the indictments against Trump and all of the criminal trials and the prosecutions of that was political warfare. Like that was political targeting to be able to take out your political opponent.
But you have to acknowledge, and we haven't talked about this, January 6th.
Oh, I completely acknowledge January 6th.
Didn't Donald Trump help incite that?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, he is the reason that January 6th happened. And
because if Donald Trump would have been like, yep, I didn't win the election, maybe I'll try again in 4 years.
No, exactly. And
then he would have just left quietly. We wouldn't have had January 6th. And think about how much more division that event has caused.
But at the same time, even despite January 6th, Trump's insane rise back to power, it showed a need of people that, Biden and the Democrats, when they went into this, ideological mess after COVID, they were like, my basic needs aren't being satisfied right now. And my life was better under Donald Trump. And this was the first time, since, 1800s, I think, or 1900s, was when you could actually compare two presidencies side by side, rather than saying, I'm going to do something different than this guy. It's like, I did this compared to this guy who did this. We had 4 years, compare and see who did better. And people felt better, especially with the economy under Trump. So that's the reason they went that way.
And I feel like we just want quick answers. We want quick solutions, and government is slow, and you can't tell what a presidency has done to a country for years later.
Yes.
And I feel like they're like, well, that didn't work, let's get the other guy. Well, that didn't work, let's get the other guy.
100%.
Instead of working together the whole time, regardless of who's in office, to pass legislation that helps us all. If the Republicans are in power, maybe that legislation is slightly different, but it's still helping people. And if the Democrats are in power, they're passing legislation that's slightly different than what the Republicans want, but it still helps the majority of people. Like exactly. That's what we should be aiming towards, instead of these giant opposites.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that point. I was just going to make a point on that. It completely my mind.
I have a really interesting thing that I was talking to Louise Gohman yesterday. She's on the New Albany City Council. She's my favorite council member. I love her, by the way. She was giving me a ride. We went to Tim's house yesterday to help him prepare for his debate. It was really fun. And on the way home, I was like, it's kind of interesting thinking about history and the Civil War. When the Civil War was over, Lincoln said right away, he said, we need to forgive the South and help them build and unite. Then he was assassinated, and his vice president wasn't near as good, and he wasn't like that. That really hurt our country. The fact that we lost Abraham Lincoln, this wonderful man that saw the vision of how to build the country back. Same thing with World War I. It's a complex reason what happened to World War I. It's not necessarily just Germany's fault, but Germany was the main country that got blamed after World War I. And that blame, that shame, helped the people, the German people, elect Hitler, who used it, who fed on it, which led to World War II and so many people, 6 million Jews
Yep.
Was it like 8 million people total or something?
I,
So many people dying. We're doing that again. We're doing that here in America, not quite on a global war scale, but we're mad at the
from an
people.
ideological perspective, definitely.
We're mad at the people that voted for Trump. Biden comes in. Do we unite? Do the people that voted for Biden reach out across the aisle to the people that voted for Trump, and did they make up and start working? We had 4 years to do it. Did we do it? No, we got more divisive. And I think if we all would have taken a step back and united during that 4 years, I don't think Trump would have won the nomination. Maybe we'd have Nikki Haley. Maybe we'd have Kamala. Who knows? But I feel like history is repeating itself, and we have to take a step back and observe what's happening and then stop it.
Yep. Well, like those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And a lot of the times it just comes up with new names and new justifications. It's not, they're not going to look exactly the same, but people say history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, and it definitely does. So
we're just rhyming with this new internet, social media, 24-hour news problem, which has lighted a fire to the problem and made it accelerate much faster.
Exactly. And it doesn't allow us to actually see the concrete, like, legislation that's actually going through. Like, we don't actually see the work that Congress is doing every day. I mean, Congress is passing bills every single day, and a lot of them are on a bipartisan basis, but those aren't
not right now, right? Because the government shut down.
The government shutdown. I'm just saying, like, in general,
right.
Usually, like, the House is passing bills every single day, and there's things that people that aren't, nationally, like, there's not a national spotlight on it, but there are things that are making the government work and getting people their benefits, and their bipartisan things that people are coming together on that just aren't advertised because it's not sexy. People don't want to see bipartisanship because that's not what gets views. That's not what gets ratings. Controversy is what gets ratings. And that's what all of these social media sites, these news networks, that's what they feed on, is how many people can we get to watch this spectacle right now? And by incorporating more division, you create an even greater spectacle.
And what's happening on my side is because Trump is in power, and in my opinion, he's doing some alarming things with his power, and he's being very divisive. My side is traumatized. We already aren't over the trauma of the first 4 years, and it happened again, and it seems worse to us this time. So we're in survival mode, we're in panic mode, we're high anxiety, and when you get to those places, you don't compromise very well. Your body is in emergency survival mode. And so then you're very much like, oh, you went against me. You're my enemy. I'm going to kick you out. And that is what is happening on my side.
Yeah.
The panicked people are excluding the unity people.
And I think it's the constant fear mongering surrounding.
Oh yeah, we're terrified.
Terrified because that people say, like, they're re-traumatized, like they were afraid 4 years ago, but truly, like, you ask these people, like, when Donald Trump was president in his first term, how did your life really change that much? And a lot of people say it didn't really change that much, right? Like, their rights weren't taken away, right? Like, they didn't have to.
Well, we lost women's right to health care.
That wasn't through unilateral, and one, that wasn't during his presidency. Two, it wasn't a unilateral decision. It was.
Well, wasn't it because he was able to?
Well, he was able to.
Supreme Court judge.
So
yes,
but even at the same time,
one thing would have changed, if like Hillary Clinton would have been president, they wouldn't have elected somebody on the they wouldn't have voted for somebody in the Supreme Court to do that. I think most people didn't think we were going to lose that right.
Yeah, but also at the same time, if you look at the history of it and you go back to the Roe v. Wade decision, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who did vote in favor of abortion rights, also said that the precedent that they just set is very shaky because it doesn't completely align with the right to privacy in the Constitution. And that's not meaning that you can't put an amendment or pass a bill allowing the right to
that's what I'm mad at. Why didn't we pass a bill to protect women's right to health care? Why didn't we do that? Why did we leave it up to the Supreme Court where it could have been taken down?
Exactly.
I'm upset that happened. We shouldn't have less rights than we used to have.
Like, no, I agree with that. And, from a state perspective, like, it's a lot of states, even red states, are moving in the direction of abortion rights. But some states like Florida aren't. And like the Florida thing pissed me off because they did their abortion rights was the right to an abortion was a ballot referenda. And I think 58% of the people in Florida voted for abortion rights access. But the Florida Constitution says that you have to have 60% of the vote for a
Oh,
ballot referendum.
wow.
Exactly. So a ballot referenda needs 60% of the vote, but meanwhile, 58% over a
So
majority
do they
of
have to do it again? Can they get it back on there or is it done?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen, but now the 6-week
I
ban is
didn't know
still in
that.
place.
In Indiana, we don't even have rights to ballot initiatives.
And that's my
Even though the
problem.
majority of Hoosiers want access to healthcare for women, we cannot put it on the ballot. We've lost that right.
And when they say send it back to the state, send it back to the people, in my mind, sending it back to the people, it means a vote, a referenda on
And
the
it's
ballot.
really hard to get a ballot initiative too. Like I
Mhm.
found out in Indiana, we can get ballot initiatives, but guess who has to do it? The House and the Senate, the state House and the state Senate have to do it. So that's
Yeah,
not the
exactly.
people. That's
It
the
can't be citizen
extreme
led, right?
super majority, and they're not going to do that.
Exactly.
So
And that's politics at its finest of allowing the dissent among people to just be completely diminished. I mean, Indiana is
yeah,
40% Democrat, right? Like
yeah, 40 to
it
like
exactly.
45%.
It's bluer than you think, even
But
though you have such
everything
a
is
super
red.
majority. But it's the same
I'm
thing. It's the same thing in New York. New York's 40% Republican, and we have an insane super majority in Albany, right? So
See, that I didn't know that because I knew that New York was very, very blue, but I know the city, New York
yeah,
City
well, New York
is
City is because then you go to Westchester, you go to Long Island, you see a lot more in the rural areas, especially up north. It's all red.
yeah, that's so fascinating because I think most people just assume New York's mostly blue and most people just assume Indiana's mostly red. Did you know that next week or the week after that we're doing a special session to um change the congressional districts, the gerrymandering thing that
I
we hoped wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
They're planning on doing this in
I mean,
Indiana.
this is my problem. I mean, like, it's pure politics because Republican states are doing it now. Democrat states are doing it. New York, California.
Nobody should be allowed to do
No,
this.
nobody should be doing. And
Why
gerrymandering,
didn't we pass a law
exactly.
earlier? Why didn't we pass a law through Congress nationally making gerrymandering illegal? We almost got it passed through the Supreme Court. I saw a documentary called Slaying the Dragon, and because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, there's another thing we lost, the that we would have been able to probably we would have been able to stop gerrymandering nationally. So, because we never made it a law, now we're giving even less rights to Hoosiers. Texas is happening too. Other states are they trying to do this in Ohio? I mean, it's all over the country. I don't want any gerrymandering. I understand why the Democrats are threatening to do it since the Republicans are starting it. I don't want any of it. I want it fair.
Yeah.
I ran for state house in Indiana. It's one of the most gerrymandered areas possible to be so rural. There's no way I can win because I have a D next to my name. And there's no way I could get on the other side as an R because the people that control the ballot don't like me and wouldn't let me on there. So
Exactly. And it's awful. Like you think about it, like Massachusetts has, I think, about 40% of the vote is Republican, and they have 0 Republican districts. New York
wow.
has 26 districts, only 6 are Republican. In the last election, 45% of people voted Republican, right? So 6 is only 26% of the population they're representing, right? If 45% of the population is Republican, then we should have a lot more Republican districts in
When
New York.
we have 9 Congress people in Indiana and 7 of them are Republican, yet 40 to 45% of Hoosiers are Democrat. They're going to redraw the lines to try to make it 9 out of 9.
Mm-hmm. And it's the same, like you go to what Newsom's doing in California is like there's a good chunk, over 30% of Californians are Republicans, and they're trying to
I
redraw.
don't like Gavin Newsom. He's too divisive. He and
He's
I
he's a
see the
snake
really
oil
far to the
salesman,
left
just
people
like
like
so
him, and I'm
long.
like, I like Andy Bashir and Pete Buttigieg type people. I don't
I like
like.
Gretchen Whitmer.
I like Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah, I don't. He seems like very similar to Trump. Do we not remember he went to that French restaurant during COVID when he made the rule that you weren't supposed to go to restaurants? Isn't that him?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think.
know. But I'm just saying, like, this guy is not great. He's like the other bully on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And he is going complete Trump mode to try to like go against Trump, which is riling up Democrats and is making us be
I
like,
really hope he does not become the Democrat
I
nominee.
don't think he's going to be able to get the nomination. I really think that, especially if Zohar Mamdani is elected in New York City, the Republican Party is going to plaster his
We'll have to
face.
have another episode to talk about that.
Oh yeah, well, the Republican Party is going to plaster his face as the new face of the Democratic Party, and it's just going to swing people into the Republicans' directions even more because we
I see. I
saw
don't agree with that. I think
we saw a need
Mamdani
for
is different from
moderation.
Gavin Newsom. I think those two people are
Very, very
different.
well, but I would rather vote for Newsom than I would Mamdani. I mean,
See, I'd rather vote for
Mamdani's a
Mamdani
Democratic
than
socialist.
Newsom.
So everything that he's going to ruin New York City. At least Gavin Newsom has some
I just,
fiscal sense to him.
yeah, we got to talk about that sometime because our sides are very different on that. Let's talk about the government shutdown.
Yeah,
So, how long has it been going on? A few
29
weeks?
days, I think.
So almost a month. February today. Whew, like I know that the Republicans think it's the Democrats' fault for the shutdown, and the Democrats think it's the Republicans' fault for the shutdown. I blame everybody in power for a long time because I think we should have passed a law years ago not letting this happen. We shouldn't shut down the government over disagreements. We shouldn't not pay our government workers. That's ridiculous to me. So I'm mad at everybody that's being divisive. Um, and so I see it as both, but I also place more blame on the Republicans since they're the ones that control the everything. So what do you think?
I see this both, but I place some more blame on the Democrats.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's my reasoning behind it is that um just like when you're trying to fund the government, right? This isn't like a big legislative bill, right? That like the House votes on and everything and that they create together and they go into committees to do. This is just a continuing resolution to continue at the same fiscal standards that we've been operating at, through the next couple months. So then we can actually finalize a budget together. So and it's a clean bill. That's why Republicans have been saying it's a clean bill. There's no addendums. There's no new things that Republicans are trying to get into the budget. These are Biden era spending levels that we're going to continue because the Trump tax cuts don't go into place until 2026. So Republicans are just saying we want a clean bill to keep funding the government. And then after that, we can negotiate healthcare and all the things that you want to negotiate about.
But they haven't been
Through an
negotiating
actual
with the Democrats. I
I know,
mean,
but do it through an actual legislative process, like the way it's supposed to happen, right?
it,
Like
but
Democrats
do
are
we have do Democrats have any power
but
when
but
that
but,
happens?
but yes, they well right now they have power because the government would be open right now if we didn't have a filibuster in the Senate. Is that we need 60 votes in the Senate to be able to get, even though we have the House and the Senate, we need 60 votes in the Senate to
Right.
be able to pass this bill. So we need Democrat support, and we have Democrats like John Fetterman, who are coming to our side and have been voting with Republicans to keep the government open because people like him are saying, yes, I'm a Democrat. I disagree and I want to get all of these healthcare initiatives through, but we don't do it by stonewalling the government, by stopping
And
SNAP
we've been doing this for a while.
for a
Like
very long
this
time.
happened to try to stop Obamacare, which at first people were very scared of, but now is very favorable. People like it. So both sides are using this tactic, and I want to take away the tactic. I don't think we should be allowed to shut down the government and hurt the people
No,
constantly because they can't compromise and work stuff out. Like be adults in the room, you
exactly. Like
know?
let's come together. Like, and this was like my favorite thing of like when Nikki Haley was running for president, and she was like if there was government shutdown, she's like, no, I would bring everybody into Congress, and say you're not allowed to leave here until we figure something out.
That's exactly what they should be doing. But the person with the most power, the president, he is not saying anything like that,
No, well,
Christopher. He's
but
not saying, let's get everybody in the room, let's listen and care about him, and let's stay working hard until we can compromise. He's not doing that. So you can't just blame the Democrats,
no,
the
but
main people. And he's the person telling all the other Republicans they better be extreme too.
but also at the same time, it's not being extreme in this bill because there's no Trump policies that are
From
associated with
what
this bill.
And I'm not an expert on this, so I apologize if I don't get things right. But from what I'm understanding, if we let this pass, it's going to raise everybody's health insurance tremendously.
Well, but that's not just because of the continuing resolution. That's because we had Obamacare subsidies that were temporary as a result of COVID. When Democrats were in power, they passed that. They could have made those permanent, but they made them temporary. So those are about to expire because they were from COVID. So these Obamacare subsidies are going to go up. And I think that
Yeah,
Republicans need to
that's the reason
negotiate to
why
be able to help them
Medicare
get down. But at
Medicare
the
for
same
all
time,
isn't good. It
yeah.
would actually like bankrupt the country.
Hmm.
And I know this because I spent 3 hours last night at Tim's house helping him prep for a healthcare debate, and he taught it to me.
Yep.
And since he's an ER doctor and the smartest person I've ever met, I'm gonna believe him over like 20-year-olds preaching Medicare for all, but they have no idea how that would work.
Exactly, because and that's a lot of the things, especially with like what Zohran Mamdani is doing, and that's why he like energizes so many people because everything that he says sounds great. Free
Yeah, Medicare for
transportation,
all sounds great,
exactly.
but it
You know,
actually
universal
would.
childcare, universal healthcare. You know,
Now
free
that's
buses,
different because
free.
Tim is for universal health care, but allowing it in a bunch of different channels, private and public,
Well,
the way
exactly.
that
So
some
that's
other
not
countries do
yeah,
it.
exactly. So that's not technically like if you go into the actual like universal healthcare, like what it is and what it's played out as. That's not what it is because I do believe in privatization and I do believe that everybody should be able to get covered. But it's not government run healthcare, and that's what we have to go. We have to
Yeah, it's so
veer
funny
that.
because now I know more about it. But like in New Zealand, I
Mhm.
love the David Farrier podcast, Flightless Bird. He's from New Zealand and he's like in America, learning about America, and he's adorable. He's really smart and brave, and he's so cute because he doesn't know everything about America. And he had back pain, and it was cheaper for him to fly to New Zealand to get his back figured out than it was to stay in America. And he said he pays a little, they have a public plan in New Zealand, but he pays a little bit more to get the private plan. And so he went over there, immediately got coverage, and their solution wasn't back surgery like it was in America, which would have been very expensive. And then he would have had back problems the rest of his life. It was a bunch of really good quality, like swimming, do these exercises, strengthen your back, diet, make sure you're getting up and walk, like the actual things you should do to have a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
And so but it's not healthcare for all what they have in New Zealand. What and so it seems to me like
And a
something
lot
like that would be better.
Yeah, I understand that, but a lot of like what people don't understand a lot of the time is you can't just take the model of one country that has,
It's a very small country.
a fraction of the population
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
United States compared to the United States, which is in a chronic disease epidemic right now. And, we are the most unhealthy nation across the world. So we need more healthcare and we just can't pay for it. I mean, and I'm all for getting people coverage, but not through the government. I mean, you look at our VA system right now and how awful the VA is in
Now,
terms of
I push back on that because I've
care.
met veterans and they do not say it's awful.
Well, my grandpa's a veteran, and he likes the
No,
VA, but
but
he
that was in the
does.
past, so it used to be a lot worse. I agree with you.
It's
I've
getting
met your
better, but
grandpa,
once again, the government-run healthcare like that is not sustainable.
but
And
it's better than what a lot of us are getting that do not have VA government health insurance
no,
right now.
no,
So like
it's definitely better than
so
people with some other versions of healthcare, but that's not
but
saying it's good
But
itself.
what Tim is saying is we shouldn't dump a bunch of money in a system that's already broken.
Yep,
We should we should
revamp
change the
the system.
things to make the system better. And I
100%.
understand that and support that. So I think we want the same things, but it's so confusing and it's so giant and it's so hard to explain in like a couple minutes. But I bet you and I are pretty similar
No, I'm very
on
similar.
healthcare.
My whole thing is I want to get people as many people coverage as possible. Like I believe that healthcare is a fundamental right that people should have in this country, but I also believe that it shouldn't just be free handouts by the government to be able to get it. And if your employer does not do it, you should have work requirements to allow yourself to be on government run healthcare. And like that's it. I mean, and I think that we do need to revamp the system to allow for more transparency between insurance companies. That's what Trump is actually doing right now. He's forcing them to show what they're paying. So, and that's what capitalism is. That's competition
And
because
I Yeah, the last 2 weeks ago, the summary of our show was, shouldn't we admit when we do wrong and then fix it
yep.
instead of pretending we're not doing anything wrong and we make it worse? That's this example. So all all the years past of the Democrats and the Republicans' refusal to see their past mistakes and fix them has led to this government shutdown.
Exactly. And
Also Trump, also the divisiveness on both sides,
exactly.
but
And
we're like accumulation of all of our faults because we don't accurately evaluate our work and fix it.
exactly. And rather like we try to come in with like these complete like revolutionary ideas and like completely wiping away the slate of the past. And that never works. It only makes us, start back from where we first started rather than actually improve and progress. So it's the same thing with Obamacare. Like I don't like a lot of aspects of Obamacare. I think Obama took Mitt Romney's plan for Massachusetts and I think he made it a little worse, but at the same time it did give people coverage. But in a lot of the promises of Obamacare haven't gone through. That people wouldn't lose their doctors. People did lose their doctors. That subsidies and premiums wouldn't go up. They did go up. So Obamacare isn't functioning the way that it was supposed to because of the way it was written.
And we need to fix it. It's
Exactly, but
like
that's the thing.
it
And
was a
Trump
good
is saying
start if we could keep fixing stuff instead of
exactly.
just blaming.
And Trump is saying, like, we don't want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, but we want to change it. But he's not saying how we should change it. And that's my thing is that,
I
okay,
don't
like,
think he knows how. I don't think he's
and
planning
that's the
on
thing is
changing
like
it.
is that Republicans have completely gone against the Affordable Care Act for so long without real solutions to it. So we can't come in and say this is the things that work well about Obamacare and here's our solutions because we're just saying Obamacare is bad, something else should be there, and we're not saying what the something else is.
I just want grown-ups in the room. You're 21 and you're so much more of a grown-up than most of these people in political power in the state and the country. And I want grown-ups in the room. I want us all to collectively stop voting for the people out of some emotion, out of some anger or revenge, or, yeah, that person said the way I feel and I feel hurt, so I'm going to vote for them. Who's the grown-up that can actually get in there and look at these really confusing 1,000-page documents and figure out how to fix our big giant problems hurting us all?
Yeah.
And like if we don't stop the entertainment of it all, the entertainment of politics, if we can't step out of it and work together, we're going to keep doing this. I am seeing people being better. I am seeing more uniting. I have to say a little bit about the No Kings protest. I was going to talk about that with you, but then there's so much other stuff going on. The No Kings protests, I went to 2 of them, and I mass coordinated and talked to other people from ones across the state, and it was very peaceful and it was very well attended. And it was like 0.96% of the population of Indiana attended one, um, which is higher than our normal protest, bigger than the first one. We had 565 people attend in Cordon, which was a few hundred more than we ever had before in this red rural city by my house. And it was incredibly peaceful. And we saw like the MAGA fans come by and kind of like not understand what they were seeing. It wasn't violent. People were really nice. It was different type of protest than the other ones. I really liked this latest one. I think people are figuring out how to do protests better. They
Yeah.
weren't as divisive. There were still division stuff, but there were less. There were more American flags. There were more unity. I saw Republicans at the Cordon one that were protesters,
Yeah,
you
and you
know?
know what? I think the funny thing, like what Republicans do during those protests is like I see videos of it all the time, is like it's just like they find it as funny and they roll down their windows and blast YMCA as they're going by them. Like that is what like Republicans aren't like, oh my
We
God.
got
They're just like
what we got was loud trucks, the same trucks going in circles, and then go Trump, and then the middle finger. Those were the main 3 things we saw,
well, exactly. And
which was
that's
fine.
typical in
That's
protesting. I mean,
and it's like you vote for who you want to vote for. We're in a democracy.
exactly.
But
Exactly. We're
but
allowed to
there
do
was
this.
but there were so many fake things that the MAGA people thought was going to happen because of the protests. Like they think the protesters are paid. They're not paid.
Some
They
are.
think they're not paid. Nobody is
There
getting
is
paid.
there is evidence of some people that have been paid to go to
You were going
protest.
to have to show me that
I will
because
show you because there
I
are
don't
people
know.
that have
I
gone to
know the
every
people
single protest
organizing.
of every single little niche thing
No,
and
no,
are
nobody's getting paid down here. Nobody in Indiana got
that we
paid
know of.
except for we paid $75 to have a cop
Oh,
protect
wow.
us. So that was the only person
Wow,
who
only
paid was the
75
cop.
bucks? That's pretty good.
Maybe it was 150. It was 150. It was
Okay,
75 an hour. So, and that cop is a friend of mine. I like that guy. It's the Corden city police chief. We
cool.
paid for him and people donated money. So he's the only person that got paid in Corden. I know the people that organized the Jeffersonville one where Tim spoke, which was a couple thousand. Nobody got paid there. So I think I do not think that's true. I need more evidence from your
Yeah,
side.
that's fine, and but I also don't think it's true, like, I think there are and this is, in anything, like, there are some people that are, but, like, in terms of the greater movement, I don't think the majority of those people are paid protesters.
So we're
Um,
not paid. They also kept saying, "Ha ha, Trump's still president." I'm like,
yeah,
did you think that we thought by protesting we were going to make him not president? Because none of us thought that. It was. I just saw so many fake things from the right
yeah, well,
that
I
I
think
was
that
like,
nobody on the right, like, even gives the No Kings thing any time of day because nobody on the right.
"Oh, they did, Christopher,"
No, but
because
I'm saying they give it like, I'm saying, but, like, to truly, like, feel like they're being attacked from
oh,
it.
no, 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 their feelings were hurt. The MAGA, the some of them, because I got so trolled heavily with my content, with my Unity content that I was pumping out that day. I had so many trolls, and it was mostly men scared. They said things like, "That's not true. That many people weren't there." And I was like, "No, no, no. We took signatures. We had 565 individual signatures of the people. That's how many people came." And they're like, "Well, Glasstoberfest was going on. That was 2 blocks away. That was separate." It did help because some of those Glasstoberfest people came over and protested a little bit and then went back. So it probably helped us. But it wasn't like we were counting the Glasstoberfest.
Yeah.
And then it was just they couldn't accept the fact that 565 people did show up to say no kings that day. And
Mhm.
so you might think they're not there. You might think all the people think it's silly. And I do see those people. And sometimes I think we're a little silly with how extreme we get. But I'm saying I'm seeing a lot of they couldn't admit the truth. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Uh-huh, but I, like, also at the, like, the truth is very hard to find now, right? Like, everybody has their own truths
You're
of
right. Yeah, I agree with
because
that.
every single fact is spun either way now, right? So,
I
like,
hate that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we really don't know what our truths are. Um, so yeah, I mean, I
And
think
I think
that
it hurt the protests that we act like it's such a Democrat thing. There
yeah,
are a lot of people there that don't attend Democrat meetings, that don't consider themselves a Democrat. There are probably a lot of people there that don't really vote or know what's going on. They just know they're not happy with the way things are now.
exactly.
And I don't like how we claim it as only Democrat. I think if we were more open and honest about who actually attends those protests, I think that it would help with the unity thing.
Yeah. But I also don't think that a lot of Republicans have been going to those, and I haven't been seeing that from my side, at
I
all.
met a Republican. I'm Facebook friends with him now, and he attended the first No Kings in June as a Republican, wanting to see if the things he was told were true. Was it
Mm,
going to be violent? Were they paid? All these lies he had been told. He went there, saw it wasn't true. I've met him at an Indivisible meeting, and then he came to this next protest as a protester. So
no.
I met a
No,
Republican.
exactly, but I exactly, but I'm saying, like, so there's that one moment, but I'm saying the majority of the people protesting right now are Democrats. Um,
I think they're not. I think there's a bunch of people not voting that came.
Yeah, no, exactly too. Like, it's just people who are pissed off and see something and then go. People are motivated to protest for very different reasons all the time. Most people aren't there for, like, even though it's one message, they're there for very, like, for different.
It's usually something personal that happened to
Exactly.
them
It's
or their
usually
family
for something
members.
personal that happened to them that affected them personally that's driving them to go out and do this. But my whole thing with these No Kings protests is, if Trump were a king, the government would be open right now. So he's not.
I agree with you on that, but he's trying to run the country like he's a king.
But
He's
how
trying.
so compared to everybody else who and Obama, Biden, who signed these executive orders to get their own agendas passed? He's not trying to sidestep any part of the political process any more than anybody else has done.
That's when
Um,
I like it when you tell me this stuff because I'm bombarded with all the terrible things he's doing every day to weaken democracy. And so on our side, we think democracy is so weakened, we don't know whether we're going to have a fair election next time. And I just
exactly.
have to remember, well, we had an election, Trump left the first time. But you don't understand how much we're getting it on our side, Christopher. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
I know.
we
And
are getting it so hard. My friends are legit terrified, and it's a it's a mind game for me because I have to admit some things are happening that's lessening our freedoms. Like what's happening to IU Bloomington right now is really scary, and the paper and free speech, and those experts that come out and say, this is the signs of authoritarian government taking over your democracy. And all these experts have all these reasons. So I can't just fully go with what you're saying, but I also acknowledge that my side isn't right either, and I do think we're going to have an election, and I do think we can unite the country and we're going to be okay, but people are going to hurt because of this. So I'm a little bit torn on that.
no, I completely understand that. But like my whole thing too is like, and I don't deny the fact that Trump is somewhat authoritarian, but the constraints of the Constitution and of our government is what doesn't allow him to be a dictator. Our government was set up, and our Constitution was set up for, if somebody came in trying to be a dictator, they couldn't be a dictator. So
But
it's
but but all those countries in South America that set up their government like us and now they're authoritarian,
well,
it's
but
it's
that's
not like it's not
but they didn't set
possible.
it up in the exact way that the United States did, with an amendment process, with the ability to
So
change the country based on the as we evolve, while keeping our foundational values in place. No other country, no other constitution has been able to produce the harmony of a country ever. I mean, was an insane experiment when it first started, and 250 years later, while we do our experience a lot of divisiveness, our structures and our institutions are still holding strong.
I want all my Democrat friends to hear that. I believe you, but at the same hand, look at what's happening this month in Indiana to lessen we the people get a voice in our state. So yeah, 40 to 45% of Hoosiers are Democrats, but we can't get them elected because of gerrymandering, and now we're going to make gerrymandering worse. So I feel like in Indiana, we're more of a dictatorship. Like it's already happened and it's going to happen more
Yeah,
because
well, I
there's
don't
no
like
voice. There's
yeah,
no voice in
no,
in
there's
in
no voice. That's why I don't agree with the mid-year, redistricting. They're supposed to be happen every time after there's a census, every 10 years. But we had like 2 years ago in New York in 2022, like we had redistricting when it was not supposed to happen, right? Like these states are, do have more ability, because of the way our federalist system is set up, to be more agents and actually like changing people's lives directly in, like, I guess, a dictatorial form, if you want to say that. But at the same time, like, there's legislatures in those states and everything, but because of gerrymandering from the state level and the national level, we don't have that accurate representation, whether it be in Republican heavy states or Democrat heavy states.
And I blame both sides for this, but I'm just want you to acknowledge, if you will, if you see it like I'm saying, we talked this whole hour about all the problems of the past. The fact that Congress and the president didn't pass bills like they should have to stop gerrymandering, to stop mid-decade gerrymandering, to stop women's rights from going away, to stop voter suppression better. The fact that we didn't do the things that we needed, now that we have somebody that is trying to run our government as authoritarian, he can better because of the weakened things that have happened over the last few decades.
Yeah, but it's also like, I think he, just because of his personality and the way he acts, seems more authoritarian. But the typical politicians like Obama and Biden, they once again had the same type of unilateral actions to push
But they
their
never
agendas forward.
but they never planned to run like a king. I agree that
I
the
don't think
president just keeps getting more powerful and more powerful.
exactly, but but once again, like the president,
Biden and Obama we're not ruling the country like Trump is now. It is different.
sure, it's different, but I also would think like he is more energetic in terms of actually getting stuff done. Trump is surpassed every president of the 21st century already.
I guess I feel like we are living in a dictatorship in Indiana because Indiana doesn't want the gerrymandering. The Republicans in Indiana do not want this. They are feeling the pressure from JD Vance coming to Indiana twice. they invited the Republicans from Indiana to the White House a few weeks ago to woo them over and to kind of say, listen, you have to do this. Our own Republicans in Indiana don't want to, and they're being pressured, and it might happen. It most likely is going to happen since Braun, our governor, just said we are going to have a special session to do this. So I get what you're saying, but here in Indiana, I feel like we've lost our rights
Yeah, no, but
because we're being pressured by the guy that's running like an authoritarian. It's working in our state.
exactly. And I think rather than the actual policy itself and what he's doing, the aspects of authoritarianism that I see more is his attempt to control the Republican Party. And is that it's very hard to have dissent within the Republican Party right now, because if you do, then he's going to run somebody against you. He's going to get a MAGA person in, right? Like, and the same thing with Braun, right? If Braun, even though the Republicans in Indiana don't want this gerrymandering, if Braun goes against Trump and Trump makes a national thing about how he's a traitor to the party, then that's going to ruin Braun's political career. So Trump has such a grasp over the Republican Party right now, which I hate, because there isn't allowed to be a lot of dissent within there, because people like me who are moderate Republicans who do have some democratic values, who aren't completely full-fledged MAGA, but are Republicans at the same time, feel alienated from their own party because I'm being told by Donald Trump that I'm not a real Republican. Meanwhile, I actually have more foundational Republican values than he does.
Right. Yeah. So you see it, you feel it. I guess I like your optimism, and I have been more optimistic lately about I think we can get a non-divisive person elected next time. I think we can. I'm a little bit worried about the algorithms and this 24-hour news pumping out the Gavin Newsoms and the next person that's going to be like Trump. But I do feel like we are figuring it out. We are organizing. We created Project Next. There are other places. There's builders movement that's really good. There's a lot of places that's pumping out unity. I do see us working together to try to get a moderate in both. Or I don't know whether I say moderate. I agree with moderate. A unity person, a community, a believe in the foundation of the majority of the people, of not looking at them whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, but just caring about everybody in general. I do think we have a high chance of that happening. But it's so hard to stay optimistic when this is happening to Indiana right now.
No, I completely agree. And
then the SNAP thing. The SNAP thing's happening in 2 days. That's another thing that's really sad. I was going to talk about that, but we ran out of time.
No, but that's part of the government shutdown. It's people. Basic needs aren't going to be accommodated for, and that is the foundational job of the government, is to be able to help people and to deliver on those promises. And the government is not doing that right now. We're just at a complete standstill, and no matter what your political ideology is, SNAP benefits should never go unpaid. Military families should never go unpaid. It's that this is not the way that you do this. You do this through actual legislation.
Those people should all be stuck in their respective government work buildings, and they should not be able to leave until they can come up with a solution and open our freaking government. This is crazy. I'm so angry at everybody. And what can we do? Those of us listening, stop just blaming the other side. This is both sides' fault. This is both sides' fault, because nobody ever wants to admit any mistakes and fix them. We've got years and years and years worth of mistakes that we haven't fixed, and it's accumulated. And now we have a divisive person in office. And so, let's stop the blame game and let's say, hey, government, function.
Yeah, exactly. Just do your job.
Do your job.
We elected you not to stand around and not pass bills and be shut down. We elected you to pass bills and protect us and help us and ensure that those benefits continue. So all members of Congress, people are to blame because they aren't doing their jobs.
Right. And it's so interesting seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene say really smart things lately.
Well, I mean, this is because Marjorie Taylor Greene is planning a run for either Senate or governor.
And it's been interesting seeing her well, this isn't better, and this isn't better, and this isn't better. What is going on? Because we're used to just seeing terrible stuff from her.
Exactly. Well, she lives in a very red district, but Georgia's a purple state, so she's gonna have to moderate a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, I've actually agreed with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I know. This is very surprising.
Also, she lives in she lives in a rural area that's you know, a lot of people rely on Obamacare subsidies, so
They
that
probably
when
rely on
those
Snap.
exactly, and SNAP, but like because of the she's big on extending the Obamacare subsidies because that will help the people in her district, and then also will bring some Democrats into the fold as well from a statewide election standpoint.
I don't know whether in 2 weeks from now if that's Thanksgiving or not, but we'll have this again, but not on Thanksgiving. I wonder if the government's still gonna be shut down. Oh, I hope it'll be open.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope people have had their SNAP benefits by the time we have our next show. Um, I'm doing some content on Project Next about that, so that's coming. I did a show on my own stuff, um, about SNAP trying to help just the local people because I have a food pantry right by my house. So I like to go down there and be like, here's where you put the food, here's where you can come and get the food, you know. Um, but I'm really worried about that. But I am more optimistic and I do like doing these shows with you. Thank you for doing this with me. Um, it's been a hard week for me because of the who's left stuff
Mhm.
and I'm losing content creators because of the division and I care about the people and it hurts my feelings. And I'm also very much only peace unifying stuff on here. And
Yeah.
it's hard because both sides are pumping out the opposite. And so
Mhm.
I get bullied from both sides and I try to be pretty mentally strong about it, but when it's on my side and it's the people I love, it really hurts my feelings.
Yeah, and, you know, I also think that just like unity is so important, but, like, unity doesn't mean that we have to agree on everything,
You and
and
I do not agree on everything.
that's the best part of this is that there were multiple instances in this conversation where I said, "No, I see it different," and you said, "No, I see it different too."
And
But there
I
were
love you. I adore you
and
so freaking much.
but there were so many instances that we also said, "I agree completely that on that this is the way that we should
You
be
and
held."
I could sit in a room and we could compromise and we could pass legislation that would help people. So that's the type of people we should be electing into office.
Exactly.
Not the people that are like, it's my way or the highway. Those
Mm.
people don't get stuff passed.
Exactly, and this is a challenge for everybody, but we are so susceptible to, like, being willfully ignorant in politics, to just being able to be told something and automatically believe it because we
Because
look
we
up.
don't want to admit we don't get it. We don't want to
Exactly,
admit
well,
we don't understand stuff.
and
And
that's
I
the
don't
problem
understand a
too
lot of stuff
with
that's
the
going on.
information spaces. There's so much going on at one point, like, especially even with the international stuff, when people are trying to make arguments about Israel, Palestine, they don't understand the full context of the history about it. It's very surface level because they're just being bombarded with all of this information. But truly what you have to do is figure it out for yourself. Do the research for yourself. It's going to take some work. It's going to be redundant sometimes, but you have to figure it out. And then once you decide what your values on a specific issue are, then you look to candidates that align with those values. Right. And that's what we have to be doing, is not saying that Donald Trump says that he likes this candidate, therefore I like them. It's what are my values? What is the research that I'm doing to inform myself on these issues? And then who am I voting for as a result of that?
Right. Oh, this is hard. It's really hard right now with the government shutdown. Big hugs to everybody suffering. Please research food banks, churches, nonprofits that help with this. I know that a lot of people that are fortunate, like myself, we are donating more, giving more money to these groups. Tim said he's giving more to his one that he trusts. And so just kind of be prepared that this might hurt you if you get SNAP benefits. And then if you don't get SNAP benefits and you are fortunate, take some time to help these food bank places. They're going to need your support right now. Um, this is hard time. And I think we need these conversations now more than ever. Let's call out all the government that's causing the crap instead of acting like it's just one side. It's both sides not taking accountability for their past and present mistakes.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it's the willful ignorance of not even taking accountability for it, but not even acknowledging the fact of the mistakes of history.
How do we get these people that just crave power and never admit they're wrong out of office? Because boy, do those people love running and winning office.
Oh yeah, and they got the money behind them too, which makes it even more challenging.
We got a dim mayor in New Albany that his ego has cost the taxpayers in New Albany so much money because he won't do the right thing because he won't admit a mistake and fix it. I mean, come on, people. We gotta elect better people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Okay, well, I'll see you sometime. We'll do the show again. I gotta check my calendar. And oh, I did a really fun show with your uncle yesterday, Christopher. You know what it was?
What?
I am obsessed with the show The Pit on HBO
Okay.
because it's about a busy ER in Pittsburgh, and it's about the chief medical resident and a one day, it's like an hour an episode of a 15-hour day, and it helps me understand Tim better because that was Tim's job before, and I
Mhm.
had him on and we talked about his real life experiences and compared it to the show,
Oh, that's
and it
cool.
was so fun to learn about what it's like in the ER for him. And also that show helped me understand Tim's personality because he's different than most people.
Yeah,
So
and he has, like, the very, like, the bedside manner and the way he speaks, and he's very calm,
I was
and
he doesn't get angry. I've
he doesn't
never seen
get
him
angry,
angry.
the level of his voice doesn't change that much, he's, like, very bedside manner, he's got a great bedside manner to be able to explain things to people clearly without getting too hot or, like or, making them feel afraid from it, like, he's very good at that.
Yeah, so that was fun. One time he was like so sleepy after like working like 7 or 8 days in a row night shift, and he said something to me and then he immediately is like, "I'm so sorry. I'm really tired. I'm so," and I'm like, "Tim, that wasn't angry or anything at all." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"That's what he thinks angry?" I don't even know what he said.
I
So
don't
it's
I don't think
so
I've ever
it's
really seen him angry,
I've never seen him angry. I
no.
mean, I have seen him like
I've seen
hurt.
him pissed off and
I've seen
shit
him
like
pissed
that, yeah.
off, and he's like, "I'm just telling you this so I can blow off steam so I can get over it." But, like, it's just fast. So, anyway, catch that show. It's a Dr. Tim show from yesterday. It was so much fun. You don't have to have watched The Pit. It's just, like, find out what it was like, and he talks about his day with the Boston Marathon
Oh,
bombing.
yeah, I've
He
heard
was
that
the chief
story many
medical resident that day, so he shares some of that and his
crazy.
trauma and how he healed from it or is healing. I don't think he'll ever be completely healed from that day, but yeah. So, it's a really good episode. Check that out. And then what are we doing? Monday, we're doing stuff about the Washington County Warming Station. Those are the groups that help the unhoused here in Salem, Indiana. So, boy, crazy times. Oh, we're also going to talk about the Harrison County Hospital next week because that's probably going to close because of that bill that your guy passed. Maybe me and you could talk about it.
Yes, we can. There's a lot to
Yeah.
unpack in that.
Anyway, sorry to take up more of your time, busy college boy. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Sarah. You too.
Thank
Had
you.
always fun.
Bye, everybody. Please share this episode.
I
Thank you,
got
guys.